The stars hung silent in the void as the transport ship New Hope drifted through empty space. Inside the vessel, 3,000 human colonists slept in their quarters or gathered in common areas, talking about their new lives waiting on Terra Nova. Children ran through the corridors while their parents packed belongings and dreamed of fresh starts on a world that had never known war. Captain Sarah, Chen stood on the bridge watching the view screen with tired eyes. She had made this run 17 times before, ferrying hopeful families to the colony worlds at the edge of human space. It was supposed to be safe out here. The Galactic Union kept the peace, and humanity had earned its place among the stars through 50 years of careful diplomacy and trade. The first warning came as a flicker on the sensor display. "Captain, I'm reading multiple jump signatures," said Lieutenant Park, his hands moving across his console. 4. No 6 ships. "They're big." Sarah felt her stomach tighten. "Hail them." Standard greeting protocols. The communication officer tried, but only static answered. Sarah watched the shapes resolve on her screen as the unknown vessels moved closer. They were angular and dark, covered in armor plating that looked like it had seen 1,000 battles. These were not Union patrol ships. These were not friendly. "Jump drives are still charging," Park said quietly. 15 minutes until we can make the jump to Terra Nova." 15 minutes. Sarah looked at the approaching fleet and knew they didn't have that long. "Send a distress signal," she ordered. "Full power. Every frequency we have." The ships closed in like predators circling wounded prey. Sarah recognized the design from Union briefings. Catharan raiders, slavers. They took ships in the outer territories where Union patrols were thin, stealing cargo and people to sell on black market worlds. They were careful never to hit the major species vessels. Too much risk. But humans were new to the galaxy. Soft diplomats who talked endlessly about peace and cooperation. Easy targets. Fleet Commander Zareth of the Catharan Predator Fleet watched the human ship on his display and felt satisfaction warm his blood. The vessel was large but carried minimal weapons. A transport full of civilians. "Perfect. They're sending a distress call," his communications officer reported. "Let them." Zareth clicked his mandibles in what passed for Catharan laughter. "The nearest Union patrol is 3 days away." Jam the signal at standard range. No point letting them feel hope. He had studied humans during his planning. They were a recent addition to the Galactic Union, accepted only 2 generations ago. Their representatives in the council chambers were always talking about peaceful solutions and diplomatic compromises. They ran trade ships and science vessels. Their military was supposedly disbanded as a condition of Union membership. Zareth had raided over 40 species in his career, and he knew prey when he saw it. The Catharan ships surrounded the New Hope in a standard capture formation. Zareth ordered his boarding teams to prepare. This would be quick and profitable. Human slaves would bring good prices on the outer markets. They were durable enough for labor and intelligent enough for technical work. The young ones could be trained easily. On the New Hope, Sarah watched her tactical display with growing dread. The alien ships had them boxed in completely. The jump drive countdown showed 9 minutes remaining, but it might as well have been 9 hours. "They're launching boarding craft," Park reported. Sarah touched the ship-wide communications panel. Her voice carried through every deck, every cabin, every corner of the New Hope. "This is the captain. We are being boarded by hostile forces. All security personnel to defensive positions. All civilians proceed to designated safe zones immediately. Stay calm and stay together. Help is coming." She hoped that last part was true. Human patrol ships operated in this sector, but they were small and lightly armed, designed for rescue operations and escort duty, not combat. Still, the distress call had gone out. Someone would have heard it. Sarah drew the small plasma pistol from her desk drawer. It felt light and inadequate in her hand. Around her, the bridge crew armed themselves with whatever weapons the transport carried. Stun batons, low-power lasers meant for emergency hull repairs. Nothing that could stop a boarding party of trained raiders. The Catharan boarding craft latched onto the New Hope's hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches began burning through the outer airlocks. Sarah heard the sound through the ship's structure, a high-pitched whine that set her teeth on edge. In the passenger decks below, families huddled together in reinforced compartments. Parents held their children close. Teenagers who had been excited about adventure an hour ago now pressed against their mothers and fathers, afraid. They had grown up hearing stories about the old days on Earth, when humans fought wars against each other. But those were just stories from history lessons. This was real. This was happening. The first airlock breached with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Catharan warriors poured through, their armor gleaming dully in the ship's lights. They were large creatures standing nearly 8 feet tall on powerful digitigrade legs. Forearms carried weapons and tools. Their faces were hidden behind combat helmets, but their body language spoke of confidence and contempt. The New Hope security team met them in the corridor. 20 humans with light weapons against 60 Catharan raiders in full battle armor. The fight lasted less than 3 minutes. The humans fought with desperate courage, but they were outmatched. Several Catharans fell to lucky shots, but the rest pushed forward relentlessly. Sarah heard the reports crackling over her comm system. Deck 3 breached. Deck 5 breached. Security teams falling back. Civilians being rounded up and herded into cargo holds. She wanted to weep, but she kept her face calm for her crew. Jump drive at 4 minutes, Park said. His voice shook. Captain, they're almost to the bridge. Sarah nodded. 4 minutes. They just needed 4 minutes and they could jump away. Leave the borders behind, get to safety, call for help. But the Catharans knew this too. She could hear their heavy footsteps in the corridor outside. The bridge door was reinforced, but it wouldn't hold long. Everyone behind cover, Sarah ordered. When they come through, we make them earn it. Her crew crouched behind consoles and bulkheads, weapons ready. These were not soldiers. They were navigators and engineers and communication specialists. But they were humans, and they would not surrender easily. The bridge door exploded inward. Catharan warriors flooded through, weapons raised. Sarah fired her pistol, saw one raider stumble. Then something hit her in the chest and everything went dark. When she woke, she was in a cargo hold with hundreds of other colonists. Catharan guards watched them from elevated positions, weapons trained on the crowd. Children were crying. Adults spoke in hushed, frightened voices. Sarah saw families clinging to each other and felt rage burn in her chest. Somewhere far above them in the cold depths of space, her distress signal continued to broadcast. Unknown to the Catharans, that signal carried more than a simple request for help. Embedded in its code was a specific identifier, a trigger that humanity had hoped never to use. The signal bounced through relay stations, growing stronger, reaching farther. And in the darkness between stars, something ancient began to wake. Fleet Commander Zareth walked through the cargo holds of the captured human ship, examining his prize. The colonists huddled in groups, watching him with fear in their eyes. Good. Fear made them manageable. He had expected the humans to be completely passive, but several of his warriors bore injuries from the brief resistance. Nothing serious, but it surprised him. Prey species didn't usually fight back this hard. Commander, one of his officers, approached. We have full control of the vessel. 3,214 captives. 17 of our warriors wounded, 3 dead. Human casualties are minimal as ordered. 3 dead. That bothered Zareth more than he wanted to admit. Humans weren't supposed to be dangerous. They were supposed to be the galaxy's newest soft species, more interested in trade agreements than warfare, yet they had fought like cornered predators, even with inadequate weapons and no combat training. Begin processing them, Zareth ordered. Standard acquisition protocols. Keep families together for now. It makes them calmer. He watched as his crew began cataloging the humans. Strong adults for labor, technical specialists for skilled work, children for training. It was all routine. He had done this hundreds of times to dozens of species. The humans were just another product, but something nagged at him. The way they looked at him wasn't just fear. There was something else in their eyes. Anger, yes, but also a strange kind of certainty. Like they were waiting for something. Zareth dismissed the thought. Prey species always hoped for rescue. It was natural. It changed nothing. 12,000 light-years away in the grand chambers of the Galactic Union Council, Ambassador Wei Lu received a message on her private terminal. Her aide saw her face go pale, then harden into an expression he had never seen before. In 5 years of serving the ambassador, he had watched her negotiate treaties, mediate disputes, and navigate complex political situations with endless patience and diplomatic grace. This was different. Clear my schedule, Liu said quietly, and send an emergency notification to the council. Priority Alpha. Ambassador, what's happened? Lao stood, straightening her formal robes. The Catharans have attacked the New Hope. 3,000 civilians, families. Her aide felt his own blood run cold. I'll notify our military liaison immediately. No need, Liu said. Protocol Gehenna activates automatically when certain distress codes are transmitted. Our military already knows. I need to inform the council before they see it themselves. Within the hour, the council chambers filled with representatives from 47 species. They came in all shapes and sizes, from the massive crystalline Vorthan to the small, quick Peltharian delegates. Humans were among the smaller species present, but Liu commanded attention as she took her position at the speaker's podium. Honored council members, she began. 2 hours ago, the Catharan Predator fleet attacked and captured a human civilian transport. The New Hope carried 3,000 colonists, including 900 children. They are currently being held for processing into slavery. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. The Catharans had a seat on the council, though their representative was notably absent. Everyone knew the Catharans operated raider fleets in the outer territories, but they usually avoided direct confrontation with council species. This was bold even for them. The Peltharian ambassador stood. This is unfortunate, but surely this is a matter for Union peacekeeping forces. We have protocols for piracy and— The nearest Union patrol is 72 hours away, Liu interrupted. The captives will be long gone by then, disappeared into slave markets we can't track. You all know this. The Vorthan representative's crystalline voice chimed through the chamber. We sympathize with your situation, Ambassador Liu. But what would you have us do? Send a rescue fleet? By the time we organize— No need, Liu said. The chamber fell silent at something in her tone. I'm informing the council as a courtesy. The rescue is already underway. Protocol Gehenna has been activated. Most of the delegates looked confused. A few of the older species representatives, those whose civilizations had been spacefaring when humanity was still divided into warring nations on Earth, shifted uncomfortably. I don't understand, the Peltharian said. What is Protocol Gehenna? I've never heard of this. Liu touched her terminal. A holographic display appeared above the council floor, showing a star map of human space. As they watched, dozens of points began glowing red. Large vessels moving toward a single location. When humanity joined the Galactic Union, we agreed to pursue peaceful coexistence with all species, Liu explained. We demobilized our offensive fleets. We stopped manufacturing weapons of war. We embraced diplomacy and trade. But we were never naive. The galaxy is not always a safe place. She highlighted one of the moving points. The display showed detailed specifications. The delegates stared at the numbers in disbelief. This is impossible, the Peltharian whispered. A ship that size? With those power readings? You've been building warships. Maintaining them, Liu corrected. We built these vessels before joining the Union. We simply kept them in reserve as our treaty allowed. The Council was informed of their existence, though I suspect few of you bothered to read those technical appendices. These ships haven't moved in 50 years. Until today. The elderly hive mind collective representative spoke, its voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of civilization. We remember humans from before first contact. We remember your wars, your history. We counseled against your admission to this council. Because you knew, Liu said simply. You knew what we were. What we still are, underneath the diplomacy and the peace treaties. What are you? The Peltharian demanded. Liu met his eyes. We are Earth's children. We evolved on a death world where everything wanted to kill us. We learned to make weapons from stones and bones. We learned to hunt in packs. We survived ice ages and volcanic winters and 1,000 other disasters that would have ended softer species. We climbed to the top of our world's food chain by being better predators than anything else on our planet. She paused, letting that sink in. But we also learned something else. We learned to cooperate, to build civilizations, to create art and music and philosophy. We chose to be more than predators. When we joined the Galactic Union, we chose peace. We meant it. We still mean it. Then why the warships? Someone called out. Because peace is a choice we make every day, Liu said softly. And because some beings in this galaxy mistake our choice for weakness. The Catharans made that mistake. They looked at humanity and saw prey. They attacked a ship full of our children. They triggered Protocol Gehenna. What does that mean? The Peltharian asked. Liu's expression was cold. It means they're about to learn the difference between humans at peace and humans at war. It means they're about to understand that we keep these ships not because we want to use them, but as a promise that anyone who harms our civilians will face what we used to be, before we chose to be civilized. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species demanded humanity stand down. Others argued for measured response. The collective remained silent, watching with ancient patience. Liu let them argue for several minutes before speaking again. The fleet will arrive at the New Hope's location in 4 hours. The Catharans will be given one opportunity to surrender. I expect they will refuse because they don't believe we're serious. They will learn otherwise. She gathered her materials. I'm transmitting full tactical data to all Council security feeds. You'll be able to watch everything that happens. I want you to see it. I want the entire galaxy to see it. Because this needs to be understood. Humanity chooses peace. But when you threaten our families, when you touch our children, you don't face our diplomats anymore. You face our warriors. You face what we were, and you will learn why Earth's apex predators survived to reach the stars. Liu left the chamber in silence. Behind her, the delegate stared at the star map, watching the red points converge. The collective representative spoke quietly to its neighbors. They tried to warn us when humans first sought admission. They showed us their history, the wars, the weapons. We thought they had evolved past it. Maybe they have, the Vorthen replied. Or maybe they simply chose to put it aside. There's a difference. Yes, the collective agreed. And that difference is about to matter very much for the Catharans. I almost pity them. Almost. In the depths of space, the human fleet moved like a blade cutting through darkness, converging on a single point. The largest ship, the HSS Retribution, had been designed 60 years ago during humanity's last great war scare before first contact. It had never fired its weapons in anger. That was about to change. Fleet Admiral Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of the Retribution watching the countdown timer. 3 hours until they reached the New Hope. He thought about the families on that ship. The children. His own grandchildren were about the same age as some of those kids. All ships report ready, Admiral, his tactical officer said. Stone nodded. Open a channel to the fleet. All ships, all hands. When the connection was established, he spoke clearly. This is Admiral Stone. In 3 hours, we will arrive at the location where our people are being held by pirates. We will offer their captors one chance to surrender. I expect they will refuse. When they do, we will respond with overwhelming force. The Catharan fleet hung in space around the captured New Hope like predators guarding a fresh kill. Fleet Commander Zareth was reviewing the inventory reports when his sensor officer called out. Commander, multiple jump signatures detected. 8 contacts, large. Zareth looked up from his terminal. Union peacekeepers, probably. They would protest, file complaints, maybe impose sanctions. But by then the humans would be gone, sold off to a dozen different markets. The Union was slow. That was why the Catharans thrived. How large? He asked casually. Very large, Commander. Larger than our capital ships. They're huge. Something in the officer's voice made Zareth pay attention. He pulled up the sensor data and felt his confidence waver. The incoming ships massed 3 to 4 times what his heaviest vessels did. Their power signatures were immense. These weren't peacekeepers. These were warships. Identify them, he ordered. The sensor officer worked frantically at his console. I'm not getting matches in any Union database. Wait, the signatures? They're human. Zareth laughed, a harsh clicking sound. The humans don't have a military fleet. They disbanded it. Commander, I'm reading them clearly.
8 ships.
Human design. The largest is broadcasting an identification code. HSS Retribution. Zareth pulled up the visual feed as the human fleet dropped out of jump space. For a moment, he could only stare. The lead ship was massive, a cathedral of dark metal and angular armor plating. Weapons ports studded its hull like the eyes of some ancient predator. Behind it came 7 more vessels, each one larger than anything in his fleet. They moved with terrible purpose, forming a battle formation that spoke of military precision. This wasn't possible. The humans were traitors, diplomats. Soft. His communication system activated without his permission. A human voice speaking the galactic common tongue with perfect clarity. Catharan vessels. This is Fleet Admiral Marcus Stone of the Human Space Navy. You are in possession of 3,000 human civilians taken by force. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons, release the captives, and prepare to be boarded. Failure to comply will be met with immediate military action. Respond. Zareth found his voice. Human vessel, you are interfering with legitimate salvage operations. These civilians were aboard a ship in distress. We responded to their signal. 50 seconds, the human admiral replied. His voice was calm, almost bored. "I'm going to give you some advice, Commander. We know you attacked and boarded the New Hope. We have full telemetry. We know you killed 17 humans and wounded 43 more. We know you're processing our people for slavery. So don't insult my intelligence with lies." Zareth felt rage replace his shock. How dare these prey species threaten him? His fleet had conquered dozens of systems. They were warriors born and bred. These humans had been flying through space for barely a century. 30 seconds, the human said. "You're outnumbered." Zareth snarled. "I have 16 warships. You have 8. 20 seconds. Final warning." Zareth looked at his tactical display. His ships were battle-tested. His crews were veterans. Yes, the human ships were large, but size wasn't everything. Catharan weapons technology was proven in 1,000 raids. He could defeat these newcomers, teach them the pecking order of the galaxy. "All ships battle formation," Zareth ordered. "Prepare to engage. Show these humans what real warriors look like." His fleet moved into attack position. Weapons charged. Shields came online at maximum power. 10 seconds, the human admiral said. Then quieter, as if speaking to his own crew. "They always choose violence." Every time, Zareth watched his countdown reach 0. "Fire!" The Catharan fleet unleashed a barrage that would have shattered a Union patrol group. Plasma cannons, missile swarms, focused particle beams, enough firepower to crack a moon. The weapons streaked toward the human ships like a wave of destruction. The human shields absorbed everything. They didn't even flicker. For a heartbeat, Zareth's bridge was silent. Then the humans fired back. The HSS Retribution's main railgun spoke first. Zareth had heard of railguns in historical databases. Primitive kinetic weapons. Nothing that could threaten modern armor and shields. The projectile moved at a significant fraction of light speed. It hit his fleet's lead cruiser dead center. The Catharan shields collapsed instantly. The projectile punched through 3 meters of military-grade armor like it was paper. The cruiser exploded from the inside as the kinetic energy converted to heat and shockwave. One moment it was there. The next it was an expanding cloud of debris. "Shields!" Zareth screamed. "They're penetrating our shields, Commander. The velocity is too high. The shields can't disperse the energy fast enough." The human fleet opened up with all weapons. Railguns firing projectiles that moved like lightning. Energy beams that seemed to cut through Catharan shields without slowing. Missile pods launching swarms of intelligent munitions that dodged point defense and struck with terrifying accuracy. 2 more Catharan ships exploded. Another lost its entire forward section. A 5th tumbled away, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. "Return fire. All weapons," Zareth ordered. His fleet tried. They were warriors. They had fought their way across 3 sectors. But they were fighting something they didn't understand. The human ships moved like they were alive, dodging incoming fire with impossible grace. Their weapons didn't just damage, they obliterated. Each shot was precisely calculated for maximum effect. A flight of human fighters screamed past Zareth's viewport. They were small, but they moved with a speed and agility that shouldn't have been possible. One of them launched a missile at a Catharan destroyer. The missile weaved through defensive fire like it was dancing, then struck the destroyer's engineering section. The explosion tore the ship in half. "How are they doing this?" his weapons officer shouted. Zareth understood in that moment. The humans hadn't disbanded their military. They had hidden it. Mothballed it. Kept it in reserve. And while they had played at being peaceful traders for 50 years, they had improved it. Refined it. Made it better. These weren't the weapons of a species learning warfare. These were the weapons of a species that had perfected it long before reaching the stars. 6 ships down, his tactical officer reported. The Savage Pride is disabled. The Hunter's Claws requesting permission to withdraw. "No retreat," Zareth roared. But even as he spoke, another Catharan ship died. The human fleet was dismantling his forces with clinical precision. This wasn't a battle. It was an execution. His own ship shuddered as a human railgun round clipped their starboard side. Alarms screamed. Half his bridge crew was thrown from their stations. Shields at 30%. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Zareth looked at his tactical display. 9 ships down. 5 more damaged. The humans had barely taken any damage at all. Their shields were still holding strong. They were playing with him, showing him exactly how outmatched he was. "All ships, emergency jump," he ordered. "Scatter pattern Gamma. Commander, the New Hope, leave it. We need to survive to report this." His remaining ships began charging their jump drives. The human fleet seemed to sense the retreat. They focused fire on the most damaged Catharan vessels, crippling them before they could jump. Zareth watched 3 more ships die. His own jump drive showed ready. He was about to give the order when something hit his ship hard enough to throw him across the bridge. When he pulled himself up, emergency lights were flickering and half his systems were offline. Jump drive is damaged, his engineer reported. It will take hours to repair. Zareth stared at his view screen. The human fleet was closing in. He counted his remaining forces. 4 ships, 4 out of 16, and all of them were damaged. The entire engagement had lasted less than 10 minutes. The human admiral's voice came over the communications again. Catharan vessels, power down your weapons and engines. You have fought bravely, but this fight is over. Surrender now and you'll be treated according to galactic law. Continue to resist and we will finish this. Zareth looked at his remaining ships. At his crew. They were beaten. But he was a warrior. He would not surrender to prey. Never, he snarled. I was afraid you'd say that, the human admiral replied. There was something like sadness in his voice. You have courage. I'll give you that. But courage without wisdom is just another way to die. The human ships opened fire again. This time they targeted weapons and engines specifically. Zareth's ship shook as precise strikes disabled his railgun batteries, his missile pods, his maneuvering thrusters. He wasn't being destroyed. He was being gutted, made helpless. Within 2 minutes, all 4 remaining Catharan ships were drifting, powerless. Not destroyed, neutralized. The human fleet held position, weapons still trained on them. Small craft began launching from the New Hope. Human Marines in powered armor moving toward their captured people. Zareth slumped in his command chair, watching the human ships on his screen. They hadn't even been scratched. His entire fleet destroyed or captured. His reputation, built over decades of successful raids, shattered in 10 minutes. On the New Hope, Sarah Chen felt the ship shudder as Catharan guards rushed to defensive positions. She could hear weapon fire above, growing closer. Then silence. Then the sound of cutting torches on the cargo bay doors. The doors blew inward. Through the smoke came human Marines in black armor, weapons raised. Fleet Commander Zareth sat in his damaged command chair, watching through his cracked view screen as human Marines moved through his ships. They came in powered armor that made them look like mechanical demons, weapons that could punch through Catharan battleplate. His crew offered no resistance. There was no point. The fight was over before it truly began. A boarding craft latched onto his hull. Zareth heard the cutting torches and felt a strange calm settle over him. He had lived as a warrior. He would die as one. Let the humans kill him. At least it would be over. The bridge doors blew open. Marines poured in, taking positions with their weapons trained on every Catharan. But they didn't fire. They waited, disciplined and controlled. Through the smoke walked a human without armor. He wore a simple uniform, dark blue with silver insignia. He was older than most humans Zareth had seen, with gray in his hair and lines around his eyes. He moved like someone who had seen too many battles and carried the weight of them all. Fleet Commander Zareth? The human asked in perfect Catharan. Zareth stood, straightening despite his injuries. I am. I assume you're here to execute me. The human shook his head. I'm Fleet Admiral Marcus Stone, and no, I'm not here to execute you. We don't do that. Your weapons say otherwise. Stone looked around the damaged bridge at the dead and wounded Catharans being treated by human medics. My weapons do their job. That job was to stop you from harming our people. It's done. Now comes the harder part. What part is that? Making sure this never happens again. Stone gestured to one of his Marines who brought up a holographic display. It showed the battle from multiple angles, Catharan ships being destroyed or disabled. The entire fight documented in brutal detail. 16 ships, Stone said quietly. You lost 12 destroyed and 4 captured. 473 Catharan warriors dead, over 1,000 wounded. My fleet suffered 0 casualties and minimal damage. Do you understand what that means? Zareth's mandibles clicked in frustration. It means you have superior weapons. It means we have been fighting wars since before we had language, Stone replied. It means warfare is written into our DNA. We evolved on a planet that was trying to kill us every single day. We learned to hunt in packs. We learned to make weapons from anything we could find. We learned to coordinate attacks, to strategize, to plan. We got so good at killing that we nearly wiped ourselves out a dozen times before we learned to control it. He stepped closer to Zareth, his expression hard. When humanity reached the stars, we made a choice. We decided to be more than killers. We decided to try peace, cooperation, diplomacy. We demobilized most of our military. We focused on trade and exploration. We joined the Galactic Union and played by their rules. But we never forgot what we were. We never forgot how to fight. We just chose not to. Stone gestured to the display showing the colonists being evacuated. Then you attacked a ship full of our families, our children, and you forced us to remember. Zareth looked at the human and felt something he had never experienced before. True fear. Not fear of death, but fear of understanding. You're not prey at all. No, Stone agreed. We're predators who learn to be civilized. That makes us more dangerous than species who are always predators because we know both sides. We know how to build and create and cooperate. But we also know how to hunt and kill and destroy. We chose civilization. We chose peace. But when you threaten our young, you don't face our diplomats. You face what we were before we made that choice. He pulled up another display. This one showed real-time feeds from across the galaxy, the Galactic Union Council chambers, where delegates watched in stunned silence, news networks broadcasting the battle footage, military analysts from 100 species trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Right now, the entire galaxy is watching this, Stone said. They're seeing what human warships can do. They're seeing what happens when you mistake our peace for weakness. I wanted them to see it. I needed them to see it. Why? Because maybe it will save lives, Stone replied. Maybe the next raider fleet will think twice before attacking a human ship. Maybe the next pirate will look for easier prey. Maybe your species will finally understand that humanity doesn't need to prove our strength by conquering others. We prove it by choosing not to. A medical team arrived to treat Zareth's injuries. He tried to wave them away, but Stone insisted. We don't torture prisoners, the Admiral said. We don't execute them or abuse them. We treat them according to galactic law, even after what you did to our people. Why? Zareth asked. We would not show you such mercy. Stone's expression softened slightly. I know. That's the difference between us. We could kill every Catharan in this fleet. We could hunt down your home worlds and burn them. We have the weapons. We have the capacity. But we won't. Because that's not who we chose to be. He turned to leave, then paused. You're going to stand trial for piracy, slavery, and murder. The Union will decide your fate. But I'll tell you something, Commander. In a strange way, you did the galaxy a service today. You reminded everyone that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our ships. It's our restraint. Our ability to choose mercy when we could choose destruction. Your people may not see it that way, Zareth said. The families of those we killed. No, they won't, and they shouldn't have to. That's why people like me exist. To carry that burden so they don't have to. To make the hard choices so they can sleep safely. Stone left the bridge, leaving Zareth under guard. The Catharan commander looked at the human medics treating his wounds with the same care they would give their own people. He looked at the Marines who had killed his crew, but now treated prisoners with dignity. He understood something his species had never grasped. True strength wasn't the ability to destroy. It was the ability to choose not to. Back on the New Hope, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the cargo bay watching families reunite with their rescued children. Medical teams treated injuries. Engineers worked to repair damage. And through it all, the human Marines stood guard. Their weapons ready, but their demeanor calm. One of the Marines, the young one who had comforted the little girl, stood near Sarah. His armor was scarred from the boarding action, but his face was peaceful. You're all soldiers, Sarah asked. Marines, he corrected with a small smile. There's a difference. I didn't know we still had this many military personnel. Most people don't. We've been in cold storage, basically. Training exercises every few years to keep sharp. Waiting. For what? The Marine looked at the families around them. For this. For the day someone would be stupid enough to hurt our people. We hoped it would never come. But we were ready if it did. Sarah watched a mother clutch her daughter, both crying with relief. You fight like it's second nature. It is, the Marine said quietly. Humans have been warriors for 200,000 years. We've been civilized for maybe 10,000. We're still learning how to balance those parts of ourselves. You seem to do it well. He shook his head. We try, but it's hard. You know what the hardest part of today was? Not the fighting. Not the killing. It was knowing when to stop, knowing that we could wipe out that entire Catharan fleet, but choosing to disable them instead, choosing to take prisoners instead of leaving wreckage. That's the real discipline. A little boy ran up to the Marine, the same child he had comforted earlier. The boy held out a hand-drawn picture. "I made this for you." The Marine took it carefully. It showed a stick figure in armor with "Hero" written above it in a child's handwriting. The Marine's eyes got wet. "Thank you," he said softly. "I'll keep this forever." The boy hugged the Marine's leg and ran back to his parents. The warrior stood there holding a child's drawing like it was made of gold. "That," he said to Sarah, "that's why we do it. Not for glory or conquest. For moments like this. For the chance to be the shield between kids like that and the darkness." Across the fleet, Admiral Stone stood in his ready room, watching reports come in. 0 human casualties. All colonists recovered safely. Catharan fleet neutralized. Mission accomplished, but he felt no triumph. Only weariness. His communication officer's voice came through. "Admiral, Ambassador Liu is requesting a secure channel." "Put her through." Liu's hologram appeared. She looked tired but satisfied. "The Council is in chaos. Half of them are terrified. The other half are demanding explanations, but nobody's questioning humanity's right to defend our people anymore." "Good," Stone said. "What about the Catharan government?" "They're in emergency session. They'll issue a formal apology within the day and pay reparations. They're also recalling all their raider fleets from Union space." "They should. Their entire military doctrine just got shattered." Liu nodded. "Marcus, you did what needed to be done. The galaxy needed to see this. Tell that to the Catharan families who lost warriors today. Tell them it needed to be done. Would you change anything?" Stone thought about it. The weapons that could have killed every Catharan instead of just disabling their ships. The strikes that could have been lethal but were carefully calibrated for minimal casualties. The prisoners being treated with dignity instead of revenge. "No," he admitted. "We showed restraint. We gave them every chance to surrender. We used exactly as much force as necessary and not one shot more." 2 weeks after the incident, the Galactic Union Council convened an emergency session. The Grand Chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 species took their positions. Ambassador Wei Liu stood at the human delegation's platform. Calm despite the tension filling the air, the session was being broadcast across the entire Union. Billions of beings from thousands of worlds would watch what happened here today. The council speaker, an ancient Vorthen whose crystalline body had witnessed 3,000 years of galactic history, called the session to order. "We gathered to address the incident involving human military forces in the Catharan Predator fleet. Ambassador Liu, the council recognizes you." Liu stepped forward. "Thank you, Speaker. 2 weeks ago, the Catharan Predator fleet attacked and captured a human civilian transport. They killed 17 of our people and wounded 43 others. They held 3,000 colonists, including 900 children, for processing into slavery. This is not in dispute." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Catharan representative, a replacement for the previous ambassador who had quietly resigned, sat in rigid silence. The human military responded. Liu continued. "We disabled or destroyed 16 Catharan warships. We rescued all our civilians. We took prisoners according to Union law and treated them humanely. This is also not in dispute." The Peltharian ambassador stood. "What is in dispute, Ambassador Liu, is the existence of your military fleet. Many of us were unaware humanity maintained warships of such size and capability. Some feel this violates the spirit of your admission to the Union." "With respect," Liu replied, "it violates nothing. When humanity joined the Union, we signed treaties agreeing to pursue peaceful coexistence. We agreed to demobilize offensive forces. We agreed to resolve disputes through diplomacy. We have honored every single one of those agreements for 50 standard years." She pulled up a holographic document. Article 7, Section 3 of the Human Admission Treaty. Humanity reserves the right to maintain defensive military capabilities in a state of operational readiness, provided such forces are not used for territorial expansion, conquest, or aggression against Union members. We notified the Council of our reserve fleet. The documentation was filed properly. That most of you didn't read it is not our fault. But the power of these weapons, the Peltharian began, is precisely why we kept them in reserve instead of dismantling them. Liu interrupted. "The galaxy is not entirely peaceful. Pirates exist. Raiders exist. Species like the Catharans exist. We hoped we would never need these ships. We went 50 years without using them. But when our children were threatened, when diplomatic solutions were impossible, we were ready to protect our own. A new voice spoke up. The hive mind collective representative, its voice carrying the weight of vast age. The council fears what humanity might do with such weapons in the future. Liu met the collective's multifaceted eyes. Then let me be absolutely clear. Humanity has no territorial ambitions. We don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want to rule anyone. We want to live in peace, raise our children, explore the stars, and trade with our neighbors. That's all we've ever wanted. But, the collective prompted. But we will not be victims, Liu said firmly. We will not watch our people enslaved or murdered while we wait for Union bureaucracy to maybe do something eventually. We gave peace every chance. We gave diplomacy every chance. We gave the Catharan 60 seconds to surrender before opening fire. We did everything right. She paused, letting her words sink in. And yes, we are very good at violence. Because we had to be. Earth is not a gentle world. It never showed us mercy. So we learned to survive without it. We clawed our way to the top of our world's food chain. We survived ice ages and diseases and disasters that would have ended softer species. We are survivors. We are fighters. We are predators, the chamber erupted. Some species shouted in alarm. Others demanded human disarmament. Through it all, Liu stood quietly, waiting for the noise to die down. When it did, she continued. But we are also more than that. We are artists, scientists, philosophers, parents. We build things. We create things. We love things. We are capable of incredible compassion and mercy. These things aren't despite our violent nature. They're because of it. We know what violence costs. We know what war takes from you. That's exactly why we choose peace whenever we can. The collective spoke again. You speak of choice. But what happens when the choice becomes inconvenient? When violence serves your interests better than peace? Liu smiled sadly. Then we make the hard choice anyway. Speaker, if I may, I'd like to show something. At her gesture, the holographic displays changed. They showed footage from the battle, but not the dramatic moments of ships exploding. Instead, they showed the careful targeting. The precision strikes on weapons and engines. The deliberate choice to disable rather than destroy. These are our weapons computers, Liu explained. Every shot calculated for minimal casualties. We could have killed every Catharan in that fleet. Our weapons were capable of it. But we didn't. We gave them a chance to surrender. When they refused, we disabled them. We took prisoners. We treated their wounded. We followed every Union protocol for conduct in combat. She pulled up more footage. Human Marines evacuating colonists. Medics treating Catharan prisoners. Warriors comforting frightened children. This is who we are, Liu said quietly. Yes, we can kill, but we choose when and how and why. That restraint, that ability to choose mercy when we could choose destruction, that's what makes us civilized. That's what makes us worthy of this council. The Peltharian ambassador spoke, his tone less confrontational now. What assurance do we have that humanity won't use these weapons for aggression? The same assurance you've had for 50 years, Liu replied. Our actions. Our history since joining the Union. We've resolved dozens of trade disputes through negotiation. We've contributed to humanitarian aid across the galaxy. We've shared our technology and knowledge freely. We've been exactly what we promised to be, peaceful neighbors who want to build rather than destroy. Until someone threatens your civilians, the collective observed. Yes, Liu agreed. That's the line. Attack our ships, steal our cargo, we'll take it to the courts. Negotiate hard against us in trade deals, we'll negotiate back. But harm our families, enslave our children, and you'll face our warriors. That's not a threat to this council. That's a promise to our people that we will never abandon them. The Catharan representative finally spoke, his voice heavy with shame. My government offers formal apology to humanity and to this council. We acted out of ignorance and arrogance. We believed humans were prey. We were wrong. We have recalled all raider fleets. We will pay full reparations, and we will never again attack human vessels. The Catharan government is also implementing major reforms, the collective added. They have agreed to end their slave trade and submit to Union oversight. The incident has forced them to reconsider their entire society structure. Liu nodded to the Catharan representative. We accept your apology, and we hope this becomes an opportunity for your people to grow. The Vorthen speaker's crystalline voice rang through the chamber. The council must vote on whether humanity's actions constitute a violation of Union law. Those in favor of censuring humanity? 5 votes. Species known for strict pacifism who opposed all military action. Those opposed? 42 votes. The overwhelming majority. The motion fails, the speaker declared. Humanity's actions are ruled justified self-defense under Union law. However, we recommend increased transparency regarding military capabilities. Ambassador Liu, will humanity agree to regular inspections of your reserve fleet? Absolutely, Liu said. We want the Council to know exactly what we have and what we're capable of. No surprises, no hidden agendas. Just honest defense of our people. The speaker nodded. Then this matter is concluded. But I add this. Let all species here remember what was demonstrated. Humanity chose peace for 50 years. They could have chosen differently. They still can choose differently. But they don't. That choice, renewed every day, is worth more than any treaty or inspection. It is the true measure of their civilization. The session ended. As delegates filed out, many approached Liu to express quiet support. Even the Peltharian who had questioned them so aggressively stopped to speak. I'm sorry for doubting you, he said. We needed to understand. Now we do. No apology needed, Liu replied. Questions are healthy. That's how we build trust. Across the galaxy, the footage spread. Human warships demonstrating terrible power. Human warriors showing measured restraint. The message was clear. Humanity was both capable and controlled. Dangerous but not aggressive. Predators who chose to be protectors. Pirate networks took note. Species that had considered testing human resolve reconsidered. The price of attacking humans had been made painfully clear. And the reward for peaceful interaction remained exactly what it always had been. Honest trade, shared knowledge, and genuine friendship. On Terra Nova, the New Hope finally reached orbit. The 3,000 colonists disembarked, stepping onto a world that would be their home. They carried trauma from their ordeal, but also hope. They had seen the worst of the galaxy and the best of humanity in the same journey.